Talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good evening, welcome to the three Amigos on NUFC Matters, joined by Steve Hasty, Mitch and Keith Patterson. You okay, lads?
Yeah, fine.
Well, yes.
Good stuff. 2 hours of the usual anarchic and comedic show. Plenty to talk about, plenty of different topics to talk about. Let's start with pitch invasions. And I mean, we're all old enough to remember scenes like this, lads. On the final home game of the season at St James's Park back in the 80s, this became a norm for a short while. People running over the barriers, climbing over the barriers, invading the pitch, swinging on the crossbar till it snapped. And I mean, not great scenes, as we all witnessed back in the day. And as we all know, pitch invasions led to, eventual, disasters within stadiums, surges, crowd surges. We saw Heysel, of course, where, football fans lost their lives. And then we saw the Hillsborough disaster, which wasn't caused by supporters. As we all know now, it was caused by the inadequacies of those running football and the police who were in charge of the game. So what we've seen in recent months is a return to the bad old days. And let's start with Notts Forest. Key game for them against Sheffield United in the playoff semis this week. We see a pitch invasion, overzealous fans celebrating the fact that they're into the final. We then see or hear that Billy Sharp, a Sheffield United player and legend, has been knocked out by a supporter. The guy who's done that has subsequently been found, tried and locked up for 6 months. Last night, we saw Everton secure their place in the Premier League for another season, I guess much to the disappointment of quite a few of our supporters. And we see another pitch invasion. And this time we see Patrick Vieira, the Crystal Palace manager, handing out a little bit of justice, I would have said, to a supporter who was getting in his road as he was trying to get off the pitch. What happens with him, only the FA will know. But what I'm going to ask Keith really is this kind of behaviour acceptable? Is it a return to the bad old days? Or is this just one of those news stories where, things come along in twos and threes and then we'll see the back of it again? What's your thoughts on what you've seen this week?
I think we've got to be careful that we don't come over like some grumpy old men. Because I was at Notts Forest game when we went on the pitch there back in the day, in the cup run. But the thing is, in them days, I think there was less to report on. So people reported football violence as being like a cancer and being a very dangerous thing. I noticed this week they're trying to group it with the use of cocaine. They're trying to group it with cocaine. So when you look at these things, you've got to stop and say, well, are people not getting carried away? But there's been a trend. It's sort of every game it's happening. And I'd be wrong or I'd be insincere if I didn't say that I am worried about the weekend, because I can't imagine that a game where Burnley need to stay up. Personally, I don't think Burnley will get anything out of the game. I think Newcastle will win it. I think it'll be tight, but I think Newcastle edge it. I know people don't think Leeds are going to beat Brentford, but when it's your whole life to play for, anything can happen, and they've got more reason to win. And I just envisage Leeds snaking out and Burnley going down. If you do, I mean, it's a tough part of the world. The Northwest, Burnley is a tough place, and there's going to be a lot of angry people in there. And I fear for the fans because you've been massively outnumbered. But I'm more fear for the players, because they'll play right up to the whistle in a game like that. If my thoughts and dreams are it's going to be tight by an odd goal. and then they're going to be waiting, and then there's going to be anger, and I think that's what's happening. I think a lot of these clubs are either coming on and getting carried away, or they're coming on full of hell. And I feel Burnley's could be more sour and more nasty natured if they go down. I think anybody that goes down and gets relegated and gets beaten off a team that puts them down is going to feel pretty bitter. And I go back to the days when Villa taunted us, and put all them banners out, and ridiculed us for going down under Shearer's reign, and that stuck, because even now when you talk, it's a team that Newcastle like to beat. But I just think myself, I think it's a regular doing. So you only need to look back at the Arsenal game, last Tuesday night, and see what it means to put 52,000 people in the stadium, and respect that we don't go on the pitch, because the pitch was there for the players, the owners, the coaches, and people leaving the club to be celebrated by the fans. And so the whole night was meticulously organised. And you just look at Newcastle and think, by God, you got that right. And in all the times I've watched Newcastle over them years, I can't ever remember being happy. Yeah, we didn't win anything on Tuesday night, but I just felt like a glowing happiness at not just staying up, but beating that record, and then no one's ever done what they did, and doing it against odds, and doing it against beating teams in the Big Six. But when I flip that over, I think, God, there's nobody more noisy than Newcastle fans. And if we can behave ourselves big night like that, we all would love to have gone on the pitch. But it was the wrong place. There was Benz on the pitch. And by the same token, Benz is small and precious. And football could get an injury on one of these games and not play again. It's that bad. When somebody runs over and cowardly nuts you in the face, headbutts you, and you require stitches, 6 months. I tell you what, I hide the key away, and I hope when he gets in jail, I hope some Sheffield United fans are in there, in the same cell, because it was the biggest act of cowardice I've ever seen. He didn't even let the lad know he was coming. Bashed it. You could go and your grandma could come past and look at you, and it would hurt. And for that lad to do it, the size of him was bigger than Billy Sharp, and to do that, I'd like Billy Sharp to meet him for afterwards in a toilet somewhere, and see how big he was then. But you just look at it and you just think, it's getting to the stage where someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get badly hurt. And I've got an awful feeling that Newcastle will turn Burnley over, and it could be there. There could be hell on down there. Burnley's a very, very fan-strong ground. Out all the grounds used to go to. It's one of them where everybody's behind the team, and it's a tough area. And I just think to myself, I think it's a trend that's building up. I think it could be squashed. I don't think we want to go back to fences again, but I do have my doubts, and I'm worried for Newcastle Burnley.
Yeah, that's what somebody asked earlier on. Are we worried about the players? Are we concerned for the safety of the team on Sunday, Steve? It's something we shouldn't really have to be concerned about, but it's an emotional game. It's an emotional sport, and it is a concern. I think for anybody going to a football game, if fans are just going to be allowed to run onto the pitch.
Two things there, Steve, to think about. Very important things. One, as you mentioned, the safety of the players. And two, the reaction of Newcastle fans if something happened to a Newcastle player. Imagine that. Imagine where we'd be then. Imagine if there was an invasion of euphoric Burnley fans because they'd won. And there's a small altercation like there was with Vieira on the pitch involving a Newcastle player. Imagine the reaction that there would be from Newcastle fans, because they would be straight in to defend their player. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, not by a long stretch. But what I'm trying to get at is the very fact that the responsibility for the safety of those players rests solely with the home club. They pay for the stewarding. That's their responsibility. They pay for the policing. Actually, they don't pay for the policing because they don't put police in the stadiums. They rely on a load of students from a local university or a technical college or something like that. And they're paying them a minimum wage, if not less. And some security agencies picking the bones of them and taking all the money. It's in providing them with absolutely no training and providing them with nothing to defend themselves and get them around the pitch where they're wearing great big heavy coats and they're standing there with their arms outstretched and people will run past them. Because let's face it, You saw that the police at Everton, let's take the Everton one as an example. The police at Everton knew what was going to happen because it's happened already. We already saw a pitch invasion. We saw somebody tie themselves to a post, for God's sake. We then saw somebody come out the crowd, as has been mentioned in the chat there, with a knife and offered it to the steward to cut the thread from around the bloke's neck who had tied himself to the post. He was then given it back, if we remember. So that's the sort of people that you've got in Goodison Park at a game. You've got people carrying knives. There was a pitch invasion when they scored. There was a pitch invasion when they scored again. There was a pitch invasion at the third time they scored. So the club and the security at the club knew exactly what was going to happen in those last 5 minutes where people were congregating. And I saw them, and everybody else saw them. You saw the stewards line up, and there was one or two of them were already on the pitch before the whistle went in that bottom corner. If you look at it again and you see the incident, you see the ball come across, and in the top corner of your screen, you see somebody already on the pitch. Everton need to be hauled over the coals. They need to be absolutely hammered. I've got some friends who are Everton fans, and I think they're great people. Absolutely. I'm talking about the football club and then the conduct of the people inside that ground at that particular day. You can have every excuse in the book that it was euphoria. It was because they'd managed to survive. And perhaps that's something to do with the pressure that the whole system has brought at Everton over the last 6 or 8 weeks. Maybe the manager has to take a responsibility for the siege mentality that he's tried to create, and what the scenes that we've seen outside the ground when the team have been turned up the coaches. Maybe Merseyside police need to have something to answer for with the flares that are being fired off. How many flares were in the ground? How do you get a flare into the ground? You'd struggle to get 1 or 2 flares into St James's Park, and yet you can manage to get 2, 3, 4 dozen flares into Goodison Park. You can get knives into Goodison Park. You can stand outside and fire fireworks at hotel walls and windows at 3 o'clock in the morning. And again, Merseyside police do absolutely naff all. The FA don't get involved. The Premier League don't get involved. The club doesn't get involved. In fact, they condone it rather than condemn it. And then right at the end, after a manager, and remember also because of the state of their ground, they now have the away club on the other side using temporary changing rooms. So they knew that Patrick Vieira and the rest of his coaching squad and all the people in the dugout and all the substitutes and all the players had to walk in the opposite direction to the tunnel. If Vieira could have just turned around and gone straight down the tunnel, none of this would have been an issue. We could have just talked about the very fact that it was a pitch invasion and the players got off the pitch. But no, we've now got a situation that Everton Football Club have created. And their security obviously did absolutely nothing to escort Patrick Vieira across the pitch or any of his coaching team. They did absolutely nothing to do there. So they are the ones responsible. Patrick Vieira is responsible for nothing other than defending himself. And this will carry on. And eventually someone will get hurt. Keith absolutely spot on talking about Billy Sharp and what happened there. An absolutely cowardly act. I was talking to someone who was an ex-policeman yesterday who was absolutely disgusted to hear that he only got 24 weeks in prison. And he couldn't understand why he didn't get 5 years and having an example made of him. But because that decision was made then you get a situation where Everton fans think it's all right to invade the pitch and do exactly the same sort of thing or something very similar or possibly engage in something very similar because the court's given him a 24-week sentence. And if you add it together, you'll find that bloke will be out of jail before the next season starts. That's how ridiculous it is. Absolutely crazy. I'm furious about it. I'm furious about the very fact that the football authorities have, again, and I'll come back and something I was going to mention before and went right out of my mind. Frank Lampard, he actually, in his press conference, thought there was nothing wrong. Oh, well, a little bit euphoria pitch. It's actually illegal, Frank. Get that into your head first, mate. It's illegal to step on that football pitch unless you're allocated and allowed to by the authorities, i.e. you're a steward, policeman, or you're a member of one of those 2 football clubs. Nobody else is allowed. You encroach on the pitch, you lose your season ticket, and you get arrested. But no, Frank thinks it's good because at the end of the day, it got them what they wanted. Absolutely shocking.
Yeah, Mitch, we're getting quite a few people texting about the news that's broken tonight. John, just as Alan was the first one in with it, just about the fact that there's been a complaint, or there's going to be a complaint levelled by Burnley and by Leeds with regards to Everton over the breaking of the financial fair play rules. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that's going to go away, Mitch. But this pitch invasion should be added to the charge, I would have said.
Here's another week where we can sit here and say, we told you so. If you go back to a show about 4 or 5 weeks ago, when the FFP looked like a fudge, it smelled like a fudge, and it looked like the Premier League just didn't want to deal with it, so they've just managed to make a way to make it disappear. There was always going to be a legal challenge against it because it doesn't seem right, and it just doesn't sit well. You know, Steve and Keith have eloquently covered most of the problem, but I think here's another thing that we're forgetting is, in the bad old days, is that have you believe it was a working man's game, it was a working man's problem, it was a problem, and cocaine was involved in that. Now it's a middle class problem, and cocaine's involved in that. They're looking for another scapegoat to turn against while the government are struggling to make any kind of headway with anything. And football fans are such an easy target. You know, saying cocaine's involved in football violence, it's like telling us what religion the Pope is or what it is shit. Of course it is, and it always has been, and it always will be. And it's always going to be a problem. And so, why aren't you doing something about it with your drugs czars and things like that? Because you can't, and you're not, and you're incapable. But it's football's problem. These pitch invasions, people need to be reminded by old fogies like us about when we've been to games where people were on the pitch and what happened, and what ultimately happened after that. And it's always us that they turn to when they need help, and it's always us to turn on when they need somebody to take a kick. And so we have got to be smarter and cleverer and bigger as a collective football family, really, to recognise that going on the pitch in such fashion is out of order. As far as Everton's concerned, I know it sounds like let's bash Everton in the moment, but there's so many wrongs here. And I defy anybody who's having to go at Patrick Vieira. If somebody come up to me and did that in my face, I'm sorry he would be wearing his nose as a bloody face mask, because it's difficult to excuse it because two wrongs don't make it right. But how far do people have to put up with stuff? And as Steve rightly says, they were offered no protection at all by the home team. None whatsoever. What goes on going into Goodison Park that you can get knives, that you can get multiple flares in? What's going on there as a well? What happened in our game there was a disgrace. And to laugh it off in a press conference, the manager needs to take it to task. If that's not an area that should be being used for bringing the game into disrepute, I don't know what is. I really don't know what is. Where do we go with that from there? Or we're just going to allow him because he's Frank Lampard to get away with laughing it off? You can't. And you're right. There's concern. I've got enough concern because I'm going to be bloody good fellas watching our game where the Leeds lads have got their game on down the other end of the bar. I'm worried enough about what's going to happen in there on Sunday without worrying about our players on the bloody pitch.
Yeah.
You know.
I tell you what, guys, though, if I was a real conspiracy theorist, and bearing in mind that there's been a lot of conversations recently about safe standing, there's been a lot of conversations about allowing alcohol back on the terraces again. You know, there's been a sort of little campaign being running, all of that type of thing. And the authorities seem to be wavering a little, or they're putting out the signals that they're wavering on those type of situations, safe standing, and you know, why should football fans not be allowed to drink alcohol while sitting or standing watching the game? If you can do it at rugby, you can do it at cricket, etc. And now all of a sudden, there's pitch invasions, there's poor stewarding by clubs, there's all of those type of things happening. And if I was a conspiracy theorist, I begin to think, is this the establishment banding around together to turn around and go, you know what, football fans, you don't deserve that. You're not responsible enough. We can't allow you to do that. no, we can't have safe standing because that'll make it easier for you to run on the pitch. We can't have you drinking alcohol because you're all mental anyway and you're all on drugs and you're all drunk anyway. So it would make it even worse. That's the sort of thing that, I know it sounds stupid, but it's the sort of thing that happens in politics. That's the sort of little things that certain people are allowed to go, what the establishment allows to happen, in a way of just stopping something without them being the villain, without them being the ones who go, no alcohol on the terraces, no safe standing, we're not having it. What they do is they allow you so much leeway for people to make a fool of it, and then they go, oh, can't trust you with it. They can't trust any of us now with it. None of us can be trusted to drink on the terraces. None of us can be trusted to stand anymore. That's what will come from all of this. And that's the sort of thing that happens. And the clubs themselves, and I didn't mention it earlier, I covered it slightly, but now the clubs, some of them refuse to have policemen in the ground, refuse to allow the police into the ground because it costs them a fortune. And it's far better to pay for students to stand there or all these pensioners to stand there and steward the game. That's what that's about. But then the police will turn around and go, because the police don't want to be, and you see very few of them around St. James's Park on a match day. And when you do see them, they're totally inadequate anyway, as we witnessed on Strawberry Place before the Wolves game, where there was gangs running around, cars being smashed up in the car park. And it was 5 minutes later when you see Her Majesty's establishment walking past. In the old days, they would have been wading in with buttons. Now they walk along and they go, oh, yeah, what's happened? The country's gone to pot, man.
You know what you just said there about Burnley and Leeds are going to take action against the APL for financial fair play. Good luck. Seriously? Do you really believe that, after the experience I had of trying to get answers out of them or to quicken them up, I tell you what, the experts had absolutely fobbing stuff off. And I feel for Leeds and Burnley. I'm just delighted Newcastle won't be involved in any court cases to do with that. But it's good that other clubs are setting the precedents. But Frank Lampard, I heard on TalkSport this week, thought about getting a statue for him. Said, and I know it was too cheap, but it was people said, and I just stood there and thought, I look this bloke, I can't use the words I use because I swore. I said, what are they going to print on the bottom of it like? Well done, Frank. Or Frank lies here. Took us from 16th to 17th and kept us up. It was 16th the team when he joined. And he's going to leave him 17th. They're going to put a statue up. But you know what it is? Mitch is sat there in a green and white top tonight, and I'm just so pleased you put it on there because it's a quality statement for how we feel. And I'll tell you what, there'll be more shit flying around about our third strip than what will be about Frank Lampard encouraging
but already has
behaviour
been.
like that. There'll be
Already
more hassle.
has been.
It's unbelievable. And I just say, just keep going, Newcastle, because I tell you what, we're going to get the last laugh on all these lot. We really are.
No, definitely agree about that. Plenty of topics, as I say, for conversation tonight. We'll go to one which I've picked out, and that is about Newcastle United's Player of the Season. And I think if we'd been sitting here 12 months ago and one of us had piped up and said that Newcastle United's Player of the Season was going to be Joe Linton in 12 months' time, we would have all been laughing. But great to see this announced, Keith. 2021-22 Player of the Season, Joe Linton. What a turnaround that's been. And credit to him, Keith, but credit to Eddie Howe as well for getting the best out of the lad.
When you get a good moment like this, I don't want to put a negative, but what was Steve Bruce doing with a lot of them players? And before we go on to Joe Linton, Longstaff against Arsenal, he had a great game. The ball he put through for Wilson that caused that last goal for Bruno. Would have been anybody else that had been talking about being world class. That lad used to go to training and get ignored, him and his brother, by Steve Bruce, and that's from the family. But Joe Linton, I'm just delighted. I'm delighted that his balls are massive and that he can take all the shit he took, because in fairness to him and the Newcastle fans, there was nothing that Steve Bruce did with them that could show us that there was a player there. There was so many things. I mean, I sit next to his dad at the game. His father sits next to me, and Johnny Justice Allen. He's the double, and he told us that he was going to be a good player. But the other bloke who said he was going to come good was Steve Hasty. Is that right, Steve? Did you not say Joe Linton was going to be good?
Mitch did.
Mitch. It was Mitch. I knew one of you.
Yeah. Mitch
like
said,
when it was all coming on, they were all saying that he was going to become a good player. But he must have gone home from training, and he must have gone home from matches and just been absolute. The day that he was in the away game when they started singing that song about him, and you just look like a kid at Christmas. He just looked so happy to be accepted. And when he was in the ground on Tuesday night, his face just said everything. He's just lapping it up. But I think it's surprising that he's become Player of the Year after the start he got off to after he was bruised for so long. But I hope they keep on developing him. I hope Eddie Howe keeps on developing, because when you've got that athleticism in you, and you've got that height and strength and that commitment, and you've got that heart, which he's shown, it then goes to, can you take the next level? Because you look at some of these players that's played at Man City and things, he could be a strong player for us for years to come. He could be a cracker. And I've heard people say lately, he's not doing now for 4 or 5 games. It's like, seriously, he gets through some work. And for me, I'd hate to think I picked the paper tomorrow and said Joe Linton's been sold. So that's the difference turnaround in us.
Yeah, Steve, it's great to see him, getting the plaudits, and rightly so this season.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure Mitch will comment on that later. Very, very popular in the dressing room as well. The big congratulations, of course, has to go to the lyricist who managed to switch. He's not worth 40 million to only cost 40 million.
Yeah. Very true, very true. Yeah, Mitch, great to see him. He's, he deserved the award for Joe Linton, and he's the kind of player now we build the team around.
Well, and so popular in the dressing room, I gather a celebration was held at the training ground with all the players present to congratulate him for picking up the award. And that says a lot about what's going on behind the scenes under Howe, and the togetherness and the team spirit. And I gather there was some very, very kind and heartfelt words spoken to him by his fellow professionals, and that takes a lot. That takes a lot. That doesn't happen very often in dressing rooms, and that's the kind of level of improvement and determination. They've seen what he's been through. They've seen him transition, from the ever-ready operative in a world of square pegs and round holes, and something totally different, and using the obvious athleticism. I think that's the thing that's always got me. It's somebody of his build and his athleticism, and he has got an ability. He has got a first touch, and he's added other things to his game though, in this new midfield road that he's sort of carved out for himself.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice to see. I mean, I believe I saw some stats comparing him to Declan Rice, so everybody in the Southern press here, the sun shines out of his arse, and he's better than Declan Rice in every single metric. Every single metric. And that's a player that they're talking about worth 100 million at the moment.
That's
and and quite right, to change the lyrics to only cost 40 million starts to look like a bloody bargain if you look at those metrics, and so he deserves every ounce of praise he gets for having the mental toughness as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players would have just crumbled.
Yeah, for a change from a Bambi on ice to a raging bull is just unbelievable, because that's how he plays now. He is absolutely the powerhouse. The strength, the upper body strength that he's now using that he probably didn't even know he had, and the ability to be able to just kill, win a tackle, or keep the momentum. And now we're also getting them turning. We're getting them moving the ball quicker. At times when he was under Bruce, he couldn't get the ball from under his feet, and the transition is absolutely remarkable. And perhaps that's also something to do with the whole team spirit, as you say, Mitch. Maybe it's got something to do with the fact that the team is now has a little bit of a planning about them in terms of the formation. Maybe it's the friendship and warmth that now seems to exude throughout the squad just wasn't there, because everybody felt exactly the same. Everyone felt like Joe Linton, and maybe it's the way that Joe Linton was playing was bringing everybody else down as well, because there's a lot of factors. But at the end of the day, the two people that deserve, well, three people probably, Jason Tyndall and Steve Howe and Eddie Howe and Joe Linton himself. They're the three people who have managed to to really transition this footballer into something very, very special that we have at the moment. And I'm just so pleased for him. And you're absolutely right in terms of what we've heard this week from within some of our contacts within the club about how he's been sort of received and how everybody's absolutely delighted for him.
I think the moment shouldn't pass without saying today, well done, Mr. Geordie Dentist, because you were the bloke who stuck your neck out and said there's a player in there, he's going to make a player, and everyone thought Mitch had been on the stronger sauce. I thought he'd been nicking his own stuff, but you stuck your head out, and it's so much easier to knock somebody than what is to see good in someone. You said to me, there's a player in there, and he'll come good. And you know, them moments pass and people don't pick it up. I mean, all the people who watch the show, they should know that Mitch called that. He called that. He said, "There's a player in there." Well done to you for spotting it. Because I tell you what, Steve Bruce didn't spot it.
No, a lot of people did.
No, that's true.
Yeah, Nicholas. Yeah, look, young Adam is getting a bit of grief again. I've seen that, and unfortunately, that's just the way of the world, mate. You put your head above the parapet, as I've said many times. It's there to be shot at, and he copes with it well. I do see him quite often, and I've given him some advice over the years and over the last couple of years, and he's taken it. So good on him. He'll just crack on and see what the next week brings. But he doesn't get too down, which has to be good. Okay, quite a few things coming in, and interesting. We've got an Everton fan in the chat. Rich says, high emotions at full, have been behind 2-0. Half-time thinking no comeback, but when the third goal goes in, it's electric. You can't blame them for going on the pitch, says Rich. He wasn't there. He's on the waiting list for a season ticket. Vince's retort to that was, though, Rich, we survived. We had massive celebrations at the end of the season, and we never went on the pitch. Just look at what happened when the lad Cable tied himself to the post. How that happened. Stewards at the ground are a joke. £500 million on players is a joke as well. So Vince having his say towards the other contingent. He is right, and fair enough, Rich. I can see both sides of the story, mate, but it's not good, really. You shouldn't really be on the pitch. Spenny Mag is with us tonight. We'll take his question. He says, question for the panel. Would any of you run around with the flag in the stadium? I think it's brilliant. The guy's doing it. Milburn hasn't done it yet, though, lads. Now, to be honest, there was a guy in the Milburn stand. Didn't run the full length of the pitch, Spenny, on Monday night, but he did run it about halfway across. He was on the bottom row. But yeah, look, I mean, it's not for me. I've got to be perfectly honest. Running around with a flag. Keith, is that something you fancy doing on a match day?
I'd do it if nobody else would do it and said, I'd do it. I'd stick with my backside in the one stands, mate. I'm just that happy. I'm just that happy that there's not much I wouldn't do, to be fair.
I can just see you pushing JJ around that pitch with that flag and then blaming him what you would do.
I mean, at the minute I've had like 12 games of jumping on Johnny Justice's head all the time. So at the minute, he's genuinely locked up with. He's got a crick neck, and apparently I've had the blame for that because I jump around too much. But he did say he likes to jump around when we score. So we've learned what it's like to score. So we've just had some brilliant days. But I love that. I mean, I remember Mad Mick Edmondson when he came out of the end one day in a black and white Santa outfit. He was the black and white Santa, Mick Edmondson, and nobody knew for quite a couple of years who it was. Right. And every time Christmas he turned up with a black and white Santa and ran round, and it went down a storm. So I'm into all that. And the thing you see, this is just it. Our fans get battered off everybody. And we're talking about running around the flag inside the stadium. And there's people going on nutting a player on the side of the pitch. And and they're still going about the third top, which unfortunately I'm going to order about 30 of them tops because I've got loads of people on the centre. And then white and grey tops come out, I want to buy about 30. Honestly, that's going to be the biggest selling shirt Newcastle's ever made.
Yeah, no, I agree. Great marketing. Great marketing.
Ah,
Talking about shirts, the T-shirt, the latest T-shirt that we've got up for charity is now up on my Twitter account. We didn't have one last week because we were asking you to donate to a few things last week. So we gave you a bit of a break. But this one is going to be signed by Anton Deck.
Right.
And this one is going for Susan Gibson's charity. You might remember we were supporting the charity do that she did a few weeks ago. She went up to the club. She met me, her dad, and Amanda, and went to the game. She went down live to the Anton Deck show. So this T-shirt's just our little contribution. It's going to be signed by Anton Deck, and we will announce the winner on that next week. So get onto my Twitter at Steve Wraith, bid below, and the highest bid will win that T-shirt. So
I'll kick that off with £50.
There we go. £50 bid already. You'll have to put it underneath the tweet though, Keith. So if you stick that on at some point, that will be good for me. Okay. Steve Mowat asks a question, and Mitch, I'll come to you first on this one. With our new director being involved with Saudi Golf, would this go against the Premier League rules with potential sponsorship of the club?
Good question. And I don't think they would have appointed him if they hadn't had an answer to that. The whole concept of associated and connected sponsorships for me was blown out of water with Man City and Mazda. Their chairman is the chairman of Mazda here in the UAE, and I'm sorry that if that's not associated, then I don't know what is. So I think the rules are not necessarily as tough as people think. Obviously, the drawbridge has been pulled up just in time to stifle us, of course. And there's no coincidence of the timing in that for me. As I've said all along, they're very clever business people. And they'll do things through the front door with their head held high. It won't be sneaky and backdoor stuff. It'll all be right up front. So I would rule nothing out. And I get the distinct impression some of those sponsorships may start tongues wagging and get people jumpy. And I say to the club, damn the torpedoes, do what the damn hell you like, because you're going to get criticised for whatever you do anyway, so just do it.
Yeah.
He doesn't own Saudi Golf. He's just the CEO of Saudi Golf. You know?
That's right.
Just in the same way as the brother of Manchester City's owner doesn't own Etihad Airways. He just runs it on behalf of another side of the family. So let's not get too hung up on names and roles and responsibilities.
Names and roles just don't matter. And that's how I think there's going to be certain degrees of separation with some of the sponsorships that are going to come, and people are going to whinge about it. But at the end of the day, tough. If it ticks the boxes and everybody's happy, tough.
Yeah, and let's roll back Everton in if we want to, and let's talk about Everton's chairman, and let's talk about his role in the company that was part of Usmanov and his company before Usmanov suddenly was sanctioned. Let's talk about that if you want to talk about links and non-links, etc., and how you can just turn around and go, "Oh, I'm not part of that anymore. Oh, I'm not part of that anymore." So we'll just change the name of the sponsorship on that type of thing. The Premier League has got themselves into a right deal with this, and anyone who knows about it will know that any good lawyer keeps the man on it, because any good lawyer will drive a coach and horses through anything that the Premier League tries to throw at us now. And it's not going to be just us, because it's going to be all the other clubs. So the Premier League board might think that they're going to be the arbiters of this, and they're going to be the ones who can shut doors. But you know what? There's 20 doors that they're going to have to be closing. Good luck to them.
Yeah, okay. Plenty of questions coming in tonight. Busy chat as well, nearly 500 watching live. So great to have you all here. Thanks to the mods as well for doing their job. As always, we have plenty to get through. Here's the day I met. Okay, the day I met, where I ask you to send photographs in of you meeting players, managers, or former players, former managers, and quite a few to get through tonight. Ian Windsor had sent us a couple in the past. He's got one there with Ryan Taylor, one with John Beresford and Gaza, and not the greatest bit of editing by me there, but it is Gaza below. You can see the rest are pretty good anyway. This one from Chris Hogg, he says, with this handsome sod, Team Ginola, after the Monaco away leg, he flew back on the same plane. Thanks for that, Chris. Good memories and great photo as well. Kev sent us this one. Chris, that's going back a little bit. This is back into the days of the Wonga shirt there. But thanks for sending that in, Kev, as well. This one from Chris Hogg as well, with David McCreary. One from back in the day, he says, after a summer holiday training camp in Morpeth. Great shot, that. Black and white as well. Thanks for that. Rafa Benitez is on Stuart Roxburgh's first submission.
Brilliant.
Just down at the players' entrance as well. This one with Jose Perez. Thank you for that. And then Lee Boys sent a selection. My son with Timmy and me with Pods and Junjo. So there's Tim Crow, Junjo, and Podju.
Hey, very good.
Great stuff. Thank you for those photos. Keep them coming in. Send them to me on Twitter, and we'll feature you on the DMS. Okay, another talking point for tonight is this one, lads. Neil Skinner said, come on, I know fans are happy and excited, but no more snooping in back gardens, please. They've been amazing, the players. They're winding into their family holidays now, so let's give them some privacy. Worth a shout out on the podcast, says Neil Skinner. Keith, we've seen a few photographs this week of someone who clearly must have been precariously perched on someone's roof with a Polaroid camera, I think, getting this photograph of what looked like Paqueta, I presume it was, in a Newcastle top, in the back garden with Bruno and their respective partners. You've got to draw the line somewhere, haven't you? I mean, these guys are on social media. They're letting us know what they want, but it was a bit out of order, that. But, snooping, are we going too far? Fans turning up at Joe Linton's house, or is it just a sign of the times? Because now, with the corners turned, we're being a bit more successful.
I think. They went on the quayside. Both the couples went on the quayside. They did a selfie and posted straight away. And I think that's for us. I think they send it and say, look, we're in Newcastle. They're not hiding the fact they're doing the pictures. But where do you have privacy? So are you allowed to have privacy in your toilet when you're doing a dump? Or do you have to check if there's a camera? Or when you go in your back garden, is that something, there's got to be a line. You've got to draw a line somewhere. But the other thing you've got to think of is, for all intents and purposes, I think everybody saw that and thought, oh, brilliant, he signed it's done deal. But, there's nobody would like Paqueta more than me. But I honestly think if it's going to be that much goldfish ball, you might think, like that. But the big thing is, if Newcastle went capping onto Leon tomorrow, it wouldn't be 58 million, would it? It'll be 75, it'll be 80 million. It'll be crazy money. And what I hear is the salaries that he would demand would be crazy salaries. Possibly could wreck the dressing room. So I think what you've got to do is just calm down and just say, if players like that are available, how we'll make it known, and the club will try and buy them. But it's a huge long shot to get a player of his ilk at the minute with no Champions League and on the money, the wages, the signings. And I think that's the problem. I think I've been talking to a few today to where I just felt as though I went round circles, and people talking about, well, all we need is Nunes, Paqueta, this one, and when I look at the deals, they'll dance through 200 million. You know what I mean? For starters, for 4 players, and we're trying to build a squad up. Someone just asked us there, where do they think we'll finish next year? I think 6th, but I think we'd have to do really well to get 6th. I think realistically, we're 7th or 8th or 9th. That's realistically. And our squads, I honestly think our squad per man is weaker than Brighton's. I think it's weaker than Villa's. If you look at all the players Villa have on their squad, they've got loads more reserve than we have. And I just think that until these players land, I get the. I mean, I'm as bad as anybody. I get excited, but we've got to give them that little bit of our lads. You know what I mean? And if you are going to climb on a roof and do it, I don't know. Show your mates it, but if you bang it on social media, they're going to say that. And then, are they going to sit in the garden and have a cup of coffee? Are they going to sit and have a glass of wine? At what stage? Like, Steve, I bet your house, I've dropped you off, and you've got a garden. Would you like it if they were sitting photographing you and your kids? And there's got to be a cut-off. There's got to be something where you say, how lads, like, where's their space is my question. You know what I mean? And so I understand why people do it. I giggled it when I saw it. I want to believe that that's Paqueta saying, "Oh, I'm signing," but I don't think the club are close to signing him. I think the club are a good way off for that. I think if the club showed a big interest in signing him, I honestly think that Leon will rip us to bits. So I just don't want everyone to get hearts. I posted something today where Nunez is turned down Man United with no Champions League and probably will turn down us for the same reason. Because I think everyone thinks Nunez and Paqueta's in the bag. And them two players will cost you 150 million.
I genuinely can't see that happening this summer. I think it'll be a more reserved transfer window than a lot of people think.
Same here.
All eyes are going to be on Newcastle, Keith.
Yeah, and all eyes on Newcastle because they think we're a bunch of soft shites and we've got too much money, and they just think that the problem is the stereotypical message put out by pundits is that we demand that we're going to finish in the top 3 this year. That's the stupidity of the pundits. When I fought a case for 14 months, I had to put copy to barristers and say what I was about and why I was objecting to what the Premier League would do at Newcastle. And in it, I put, all we want to do is compete. And that's what I want to do. And I don't think that if we played Arsenal 6 times out of 6 we'd win like we did the other week. It's just the circumstances, the atmosphere, our players, the timing, everything come our way. And we didn't beat them, we battered them. But I honestly think we do well to do that 2 times out of 6. Arsenal's got a massive squad. These teams we're trying to beat, the Arsenals, the Spurs, the Man Cities, the Liverpools, Christ, their reserve sides are top sides. And so we need to be patient, we need to be calm, and above all else, we've got to let the people who would lose their jobs if they got it wrong, like Eddie Howe, Taylor, and the others, and we've got to let the owners get settled in. This happened so sudden, they literally didn't know what was happening as quick as it did happen, and all of a sudden it did happen, and they haven't had a chance to pause and have a cup of coffee. We just need to slow down and say, by God, what a great year you've given us. And you've given us players that people said were rubbish, but you underestimated Eddie Howe's ability to build a dressing room and to build people, build a feel-good factor, and people that had your back. I mean, it's like this show, people say, why did you go on there? Well, because I just know that you just don't have an agenda behind me back. You're not going to stick us up. You weren't going to, the things I shared with you during the takeover, you were going to put it out there for a bit of quick publicity. You kept a lot of yourselves all the way through, as I did back to you. Eddie Howe's done the same. And that's why I think some of the players that we sniffing around, I think some of these people, they turn around and say, put Gareth Bale in, put Ronaldo in, and then, Lingard wants 150,000 a week. I would like us to get Lingard. I think we've got a good chance to get Lingard. But if players come in that dressing room on 150 and 200,000 pounds a week, I'll guarantee you there'll be 5 or 6 players going in the next year saying, well, I want more money. And there's people that have deals. And so what you've got to do is, somebody said to us the other day, hey, this Paqueta's not on big money, he's only on 40 grand a week or something. He is, but the next people that sign me won't be on that. He'll be on over 100 next time he gets signed. And so you've got to put it all together, and you've got to think of what's our maximum wage and what can we genuinely afford under financial fair play. And you've just got to give these people time. It's going to take time. If we finish 8th or 9th next year, we've done well. If we have a season and we've built a better team, we're harder to beat, and we don't get in a relegation mire again, then that's got to be progress. But honestly, there's people who think we're going to sign Messi and Neymar. You lost the plot. It ain't going to happen.
Steve, Keith hit the nail on the head there, really. you're going to be naive if you think that we're going to go out and spend ridiculous money this transfer window. Plus, there'll be a wage structure still. It might not be as stringent and as stingy maybe as our previous owner, but there will still be a wage structure. And the simple fact of the matter is that if we were to go over that to bring a particular player in, Keith's right. 5 or 6 players will knock on the door and say, well, hold on a minute. I want a pay rise.
You will.
Absolutely. Before we get on to that, obviously the first part of the question that was asked to Keith was about the fact that people were bringing the photographs up. Now, let it be a warning to every other podcaster out there. You know, the day I stalked is not going to be a good section to have on your show. You know, the day I met is fine, but the day I stalked is not a good section to try and come up with. So let's make sure we avoid that one, lads. Let's give some privacy.
Bit of voyeurism.
That's right. But getting back to exactly what you said, Steve, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a gradual thing. I don't think it'll take as long as many people are imagining. I think behind the scenes at the club, there are people there who they're not after instant success. But at the same time, then they won't have the patience to wait for, 5, 6, 7 years. I think they'll be looking for success or relative success, and Newcastle will be up there knocking on the door slightly earlier than what people always come up with, which is a 5-year plan. I think that'll happen a little bit quicker. And that's because what will happen is that as more quality players come in and other players drop out, you then start to enhance your squad and you bring the quality in. And it's at that point, maybe it's in 3 or 4 years' time, maybe it's 3 years' time, maybe it's 2.5 years' time, you start to get the £150,000 to £200,000 signing in terms of salaries that Keith was mentioning earlier. But at the moment, it's going to be a gradual thing. It's going to be thought out. It's going to be very much with, I think, looking at the current Premier League and looking at players who are established in the Premier League, quality players as well, that can come in and we can take advantage of their experience and their knowledge of how the game's played, without having that learning curve. Let's face it, it's taken Joe Linton, as we mentioned earlier, a good couple of seasons for to really get himself bedded in and understand how to play the game. So perhaps it might not be a foreign imports. That Manchester City was slightly different the way they did it, but they also brought in a lot of lads from other clubs. They might have been foreign to Manchester City, but they weren't foreign to playing in the Premier League. And they brought defenders in, they brought quality in, and gradually built up over a period of time. I think Newcastle are looking for it to do it slightly quicker than that. We'll probably come across some names later on. Mitch might have a few names. In fact, I know he's got a few names that he might want to throw into the mix of the type of quality that we'll be looking for in the summer transfer window. There's been some interesting ideas and thoughts that we've had, and it's players I think more that would excite us rather than necessarily players that you can certainly see linked. I think with Eddie Howe, you're going to be in the situation where he'll go out and he'll have certain positions that he wants filled, and he'll have a list of 3 or 4 players in each position, and then he'll be looking at those players and he'll be deciding from what he hears from them, what he's got from all the dossiers and that in the world and all the videos that you can watch, and all the YouTubes and all of the stuff that agents can tell you. But Eddie will want to see it for himself, want to hear it from himself. And that's when he'll make the decision. That's when he'll go at the board and say, that's the player I want. I know that the player wants to come as well, because that's another vital factor. Exactly as Keith said, the player wants to be at Newcastle United. And at the moment, we can't offer European football. We can't offer Europa League football. We can't offer Champions League football. But if we've got a plan and we've got a succession plan for the current squad that is going to lead us towards those sort of avenues, that's Eddie Howe's job to get the team playing in such a way that we can attain to being in those positions in the next perhaps three to 4 seasons max.
Yeah, Mitch, getting back to the snooping gate, story that's been circulating, it's just strange times, isn't it? It's everyone's got a camera on their phone these days, so it's easy to do, I guess.
It's the accessibility. If you add that to social media, add that to 2 years of, in some cases, quite heavy lockdowns in some parts of the world. Like, yeah, I think some people over the entire period have forgotten how to behave, and social norms and social boundaries seem to be easier to break for some people right now. In many different ways, you see combinations of the pitch invasions and again, people forgot. I've got a mate who runs a bar up here in Motor City, one of the sleepier parts of Dubai, and he says post-lockdown he's had more bother in that bar than when he ran a bar in Liverpool and he was regularly having a shotgun waved in his face. and he's dealing with people who are behaving terribly to his staff, treating his staff like crap and doing outrageous things. And he really feels that, there's this change in how people have behaved post-lockdown. And I think things like this are prime examples. Well, I was only doing it to put on the internet. Well, that's not skin cheese, mate. You're still actually, scooping. And you're right, because there's cameras on nearly everything from your phone to your fridge these days. It's easier to access stuff and do something like this. And it's a shame because, again, it's going to come back and bite everybody on the backside eventually. Although if the press wanted to take something up with that, they can hardly talk after years of paparazzi type things with celebrities. And I think that also sends the wrong message that it's okay to do. Well, if it's okay for them to do, well, I'll do it with my phone. So I think it's an interesting and unusual sort of combination of many things. I see it a little bit professionally, because people take selfies and they see a smile from an angle that they don't normally look at, and then suddenly it's the end of the world and they don't like the smile and they want to do something to change it. And sometimes I'm doing almost microscopic changes in the bigger picture from a normal social distance you just wouldn't notice. But because there's a close-up selfie with flash photography and they've seen it, then they want to change it. They want something done about it. And everybody's looking at things in very different ways at the moment, and I think that's absolutely where some of this comes from.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's modern times. I think that's what it's all about. And I think that
you just made us all feel old there, Steve.
Yeah, I don't need to do that, do I, lads? We just need to look in the
all this was fields when I was a lad, and exactly. I never seen an orange until I was 12.
And all these things have been locked. Yeah, exactly. We've been there. Big thanks to our sponsors, Spider Miner, worldwide coverage from the lads, the only cryptocurrency miner that can mine 5 different cryptocurrencies at the same time whilst doing virtually no energy, and it's VPN protected. Buy yours now at www.miner.spidervpn.org. Cheers, lads. Thanks to skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks, Scott. Thanks to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 01913897245, and the Garden of Eden Dispensary, CBD, hemp, and cannabinoid specialists, www.theguhd.com. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables and walls in Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, NUFCmatters.com. And thanks to ClearKai, meet the new game over screen. Drop into a ClearRun device near you, available on Apple Store, Google Play, and clearrun.game. Thanks to Neil at Media Arts for all help with video side of things. If you want to subscribe, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can subscribe for free. We are about 50 away from hitting the 48,000 mark. Would be lovely to achieve that by next week. So please share this to your social media using the share button underneath the video. Drop it onto some Newcastle forums, send it to your mates, do whatever you can to help us grow the channel. Hit the thumb up to like the video, which is very important. And as I can see, already 117 people have done that, but there's 550 of you watching. So please just hit the little thumb up under the video. It's free to do. Drop into the comments box to post a comment or to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. Usually goes up 24 hours after the show. If you want to become a member, well, we've got the members draw tonight. Get yourself to NUFCmatters.com, become a member, and John is putting that out at 6:30 tonight. But if you join up, you get a cup, a pen, a scarf, and a membership card. and entry into the monthly draw. You can also use this QR code on your smartphone, put your camera over that, and it takes you straight to the membership section. We also offer some car stickers to subscribers. So if you've subscribed, make sure you email john@nufcmatters.com and he will send you a free car sticker. Don't forget, no home games now for a couple of months. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk is where you can make a virtual donation. Go to the matchday bucket. It's available 365 days of the year, and you can donate to the food bank that way. Please do that and put in as much or as little as you can. Don't forget as well, we've got a summer event coming up on the 24th of June, not long now. Mick Lowes and Andy Griffin will be on stage. Tickets are £12. A lot of the NUFC Matters regulars will be there as well. It's at Shearer's Bar, Friday the 24th of June. Tickets £12. And you can get them from nufcmatters.com. And we've still got the raffle going for the Alan Shearer Ball. 99 tickets available. We'll be drawing that next Friday. So make sure you get your tickets at £2.99. And they are nice pieces of memorabilia signed in gold pen by Alan. As always, John from QTech is doing his monthly starter for 10. It gives you 4 clues, and when you get the 4th clue, you have to answer a question, and there will be a prize up for grabs in the next 4 weeks. So 28th of November, 1960 is your first clue. Jot your answer down for that, and make sure you keep that safe, and we will look at the next clue next week, and good luck with that. Okay, time to look through your tweets of the week. Bit of a theme with tweet of the week to start with, but we'll show you this one. I can't believe when you badmouth the team all season, then they stop yours from playing in the Champions League football next season. I think that was hilarious, but I did actually remember a few weeks ago, I'm actually having to do an event with Paul Merson next month. Luckily, I'm not interviewing him. In fact, I stipulated that when I met the guys from the charity yesterday. It's the Heel and Toe charity. I do it every year. And Paul Merson's the guest speaker. And I've got to sit with him at a table for an hour in between him on stage and me on stage, making small talk. Anybody got any questions want to ask? Maybe you can send them in on a postcard. But yeah, that should be an interesting evening. Oliver Holt was at it again. And normally I would draw the line at mentioning journalists. But this guy really has just pushed it with Newcastle fans this week. Newcastle will play in Saudi colours next season, aligning them even more closely with a despotic regime. So beyond losing their identity, how much more are fans prepared to sacrifice? Green and white stripes for a home kit. MBS Park is a stadium name. Mail on Sunday column later. And that was, basically where he put more of his diatribe in there. And he's just on a one-horse mission. Sam Chipperfield, one of our regulars, chipped in. This coming from a bloke who went to Saudi Arabia to watch boxing in Qatar for a World Cup draw and back to Qatar for a World Cup. And then he, makes him sure that he understands exactly how he feels. Oliver then puts, let's just call them Saudi United and have done with it. There was then a lot of our intelligent members of the fan base having a pop. But again, Stu Penman just basically saying in short months, the new owners of NUFC delivered on their promise that they'll give us our club back. We are once again united, which is true. Imagine when they get what they want from their investment. I, for one, cannot wait. Thank you for believing in us. You get another guy, Alan Francis. Any more news on one of your owners who had that guy chopped up in the Saudi embassy, handing himself in yet? This is the kind of stuff where you're having to put up with. And I know there's fans from other clubs watch our show, especially Friday night show. Sometimes they'll say hi in the chat. It's about football to us. It's not about the politics. And this is the kind of response. It's Dennis Taylor about the strip. It's not the home kit. He says, we'd had green and white away kits in the past. Here's one of them. Did you kick up a fuss then? As I say, it's really just the timeline has been full of it. Saudi Arabia and Sheffield United away kits. Where was the outrage? Says Alex Parsons. Great point, mate. Great point. And, unfortunately, I think we're fighting a losing battle. Toon Tickler, did Amanda get permission of the Big Six? Do Munga Media or anyone south of Gateshead permission to wear the green dress at last night's celebration? There'll be hell on. Good point. Then we had this one from Nick, who's on the in the chat tonight. Deek me in my new Saudi back garden. Wish it was sand. To tell the truth, I haven't got a flipping lawnmower yet. You don't have lawnmowers in the Felon, son. Sefton Magput, I thought these looked brilliant, but it's not the style I'm worried about. It's just something I can't put my finger on. Before I purchased them, it's not the cost. Great reviews, 1 million sold. It's my second favourite colours after black and white. Decisions. And I'll finish off with this one, which is Paul Franklin. He says, hell on in Seaton Carew as PIF opens new hair salon. Fantastic. Great stuff. Good to see we can still have a laugh during all of this madness on Twitter. Don't let the bastards grind you down, is my honest opinion to everybody out there. The badge, we talked about this week as well. I've only ever known the club badge that we have now. But looking back at previous alterations, the one immediately before our current one is my absolute favourite. If there's to be a change, I hope it to be inspired by the 83-88 badge. I'll take the banner off just so you can see that, lads. But I love that suggestion.
Yeah. It's quite good, that.
And then we'll have somebody criticising we did that design for putting a crescent moon in my badge and Islamifying it'll get that stupid. It's already at that stupidity.
Well
it's
done,
already at that stupidity.
You spot on.
Good shout.
Every single piece of design that comes out of our club over the next few years will be clawed over, criticised. They'll have words put in my mouth that be given meanings that mean jack shit.
Yeah.
But it'll be used as an excuse to beat people with, and you've just shown you how easy it is to do.
Exactly. Good spot, that. Another one on Paul Merson. He was just highlighting the fact that Paul Merson did say that Eddie Howe was a terrible decision to bring in. Maybe it's another thing I can bring up with Paul Merson over coffee. This one, tweet of the week from Mark Byers. He says, she forced me to watch Sunderland matches. I did like that one, mate. That ongoing trial, which is a complete farce. Newcastle Fans TV. I did like this. He says, NUFC boss meets with Shaka Hislop because Shaka can go wherever the damn well pleases. Now he's got the freedom of the city, which I thought was pretty good. This one was good from the back page Newcastle. Within seconds of it going in the window, our new Bruno shirt attracts Newcastle's fashion gurus. And then there was a few comments under there, Steve, which I would never do on this show. And Barry, people asking if it was you, and of course not. Patricia and Kira, we can't work from home officially, but Dominic Raab managed to work from a beach while Kabul fell to the Taliban. I did like that one. War flags. This was brilliant. Quite a surreal day for many of us. Topped off with a donation from Jamie Rubin. We can't thank everyone at Newcastle United enough. Roll on Monday, and that was fantastic. I did comment on that on my timeline just to see them all meeting the players and manager and staff. Fantastic. This one was from Ian Hull, the Daily Dafty. Local man who went bird watching with Sinead O'Connor tells the Daily Dafty, so far it's been 7 owls and 15 jays.
That's shocking. That's bad.
It was bad, but it was funny.
But wonderfully so.
It was. Now, take your time, write this guy's Twitter down. At DBWFC1. Now, the reason you've got to write that down is because you need to find that thread, which starts as it is the 10th anniversary of that day at Stoke. I thought I would share what happened to me that day. Go and read it, because that story is absolutely brilliant. I'm not going to spoil it. Give the kid a follow on Twitter. Go and read it.
It's quality. Yeah,
that is absolutely brilliant. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Mitch has seen it as well, so there you go. I think I retweeted it. The man with no name, thanks for sending this, which was the picture of the Sir Bobby Robson the other day on the port of Tyne. Yes, I've seen that a few times. I think there's a train as well named after him. There was a train named after him at some point. Kenny Ransom, thanks for this one. Can you believe this is the bar in the family stand at St James's Park? Definitely needs a bit of an upgrade. I actually thought that was in your man shed or something, Kenny, when I saw that picture. I had to scroll in, but yeah, it is one of the bars, and I'm sure that's something that they'll have to tackle at some point. This one from 100% Mags. He says, Burnley fans comment on my YouTube channel and my reply. 100% Mags put, I like Newcastle, but you're... the Burnley put, I like Newcastle, but you're an hour away at the moment. Move. And 100% Mags says, we don't move for small clubs in the Midlands. Just ask Aston Villa. Excellent, mate. This one was very creative. Jabba the Hutt from 100% Mags as well. That's just like avocado, basically, with a load of gunge in the middle. Jabacado toast, Jabacado on toast, which I just thought was quite funny, and I just included it in tweets of the week. And yes, we've got a couple more. Villa are about to catch 5 then, says Camo. What's he talking about? Well, it's Total City who put Aston Villa will reportedly earn £25 million from Man City winning the league as part of the Jack Grealish contract. Yes, controversial. Keep an eye on that. No context Brits. I love this as well. I highly doubt he's qualified, but I'll give him a shot. Meet your mortgage advisor. What it says on that sign is the dog peeping out. This one as well from Andrew Musgrove. He's home. Alan Shearer, get yourself up to St James's Park. He is now up there where he should be, which is fantastic and well worth popping up and seeing him in the right place. I got this one off Match of the Day too, guys. Look at the crowd as Calvert-Lewin takes the penalty.
Dear me.
He actually did that to try and put Calvert-Lewin off. Unbelievable what people will do to try and stop somebody scoring a penalty. Mitch makes it into Tweet of the Week via Zara. Had on Callum, I'm on my way, as he watched the Tooth get knocked out against Arsenal on Monday. And Football Daily, when does he stop whining? Because nobody else is doing it. Jurgen Klopp has defended his actions to call out the Premier League on planning Liverpool's fixture list to make it more difficult than it is already, which I thought was very good as well. Last couple, Arnold says, I've heard it all now. Chelsea's Russian flag strip was based on the 1960s Kings Road culture. Wasn't it the swinging 60s with multicoloured fashion? There was quite a bit of response to Ben Jacobs. If you didn't see him at the start of the week, we were talking about the strip. This one again was from Arnold. Arnold, he says, the Russian imperial flag was also pointed out by many Newcastle fans as well. But again, no scrutiny hysteria prior to or when the strip was released. Ben might argue it is a slightly different colour, yellow. So that is okay. So yeah, it did cause a lot of controversy. Final tweet of the week is this one, and this is brilliant. The best one.
Absolutely brilliant.
JH Executive, thank you. And you turned up this morning at St James's Park making inquiries as to the availability of Callum Wilson's front. Excellent. Brilliant, that like. Thank you so much, everybody, for highlighting them, and I'll keep an eye out, and the lads will as well. But that is your tweet of the week. Great stuff, absolutely brilliant, and keep them coming in. Question for the panel from Spenny Mag. We'll go with this one as well. He says, I met Kevin Keegan last week. He said he's confident we will win a trophy in 3 years, Keith, and the Premier League in 5. After the meeting that he's had with the owners, do you agree? We've touched briefly on that on the show in the past, but is that realistic? Trophy in 3 years and the Premier League in 5?
I think we will win a trophy within 3 years. Yeah, I do. I think we'll win. It might be a cup, but I think we'll win a trophy in 3 years. It's funny, the 5-year thing, because I can imagine Keegan saying that, the kind of thing he would say, and I support him. He's the best bloke I've ever met. But my best pal was with Conte from Spurs, and he knows him, and he was in London in a hotel, and he sat talking to him. They talked about a lot of things, and then he said, "What do you think about Newcastle?" And he says, "No, they're going to be so big that people aren't going to be able to cope with them." This is a manager at Tottenham saying this. It's not a bit of a story; it's a fact. And he turned around and said, "When people know Newcastle in for players in time, others will drop out because they won't be able to cope." He says, "But the one thing you need to do is you need to get some kind of success to attract them players." But he said, his terms were, he said, you'll be in the Champions League within 2 years and you'll win it within 3. And that was Conte, Spurs manager, saying we'll be in the Champions League within 2 years and we'll win it within 3. So when you hear people like that say, they know how football works better than we do. And I wouldn't like to burden Newcastle with such a prediction. I do think we will win silverware. And it could be it could be a cup, or it could be, but I think within maximum of 2 years we'll be playing Europe. I think it'll take us maximum 2 years to get to Europe. And it's what happens after them. And it's who we get. And it's making sure that when everyone wrote all these players off that we've got now, it said, most of them shine. They all gelled and they all fought for each other. If you saw what Gomeris did the other day when Taggart was getting interviewed and he said he should sign, that was quite similar to when Sean Longstaff spoke up for Joe Linton. When that reporter, and when the reporter Match of the Day turned around and said, "I didn't know you were that good," and Sean Longstaff said, "What are you on about?" He said, "You want to come see me in training?" He's like that every week. And it's that. Sean Longstaff's backing a player that's maybe got a shirt before him at the time. But that's the kind of camaraderie they're building up. And if they keep building it up with them kind of players, where there's no, bloke getting the kind of money that's going to piss the rest of them off, then I think we've got a chance of getting silverware in 3 years. Win the title in 5? I'd like to think so. I don't think it's out of the question. I think our owners would like to win in 5 years. I think they want it in that kind of period. But don't forget the insurmountable, massive time you've got to get past the likes of Liverpool and Man City, 2 of the biggest clubs in the world now. And yeah, I think it'd be done, and I wouldn't argue with Keegan on that. But I think to get there, if you want to get there quicker than Man City did, and if you don't want to do what Everton's done, you've got to realise that your Dan Burn kind of players that'll run through walls for you. And it's your Gomeris that just wants to come here. Bruno wants to come here rather than go to the Champions League club. It's them kind of people that you need to add to, rather than just saying, "Oh, we're going to go and get Ronaldo." Because you think of that, Ronaldo is still one of the best players in the world, but his time's come to an end, and he doesn't cover the ground that we're going to need to cover when we're making up this ground on people, and the wages will just smash the jet from them. So I think he's right. I think it can be done, but I think I think reading that, everyone's going to say, "Oh, it's going to happen. We're going to sign all these big players now." I think we've got to have another summer window like we had in January. I think it's going to be that kind of run.
Okay, Steve, what's your thoughts on that kind of prediction? I think we could win a trophy within the next couple of years. League Cup would be perfect, I think. I think that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I was alluding to earlier when we had the start of the conversation about planning, forward planning and thinking and looking ahead. I think that what we've got owners in the PIF who are no fools. I think they bring people in who are ultra professional, who know the business and are winners. And I think when you get winners behind the scenes, that encourages winners on the pitch. It encourages managers and coaches to understand what it means to be a winner. And I think the pressure, if anywhere, is going to be on Eddie Howe and on his coaching staff to deliver the expectations that there are in the boardroom. And I think the boardroom will do their damnedest to give him every tool possible to be successful. And by that, I mean that they'll give him the backing in terms of who he wants to bring in, as well as the resources and the finances to encourage better players and to encourage those players to sign. So if Eddie spots a player that he particularly wants, I think they'll go out of their way to ensure that they can get those players, but they'll understand that balancing act that they've got to deal with between the player, his agent, and what the club can afford. Now, when I say what we can afford, it's very much on that lateral that Keith's talking about, which is you don't want to go overboard. You don't want to suddenly throw a £250,000 a week player into a squad of £75,000 a week players, unless you've got the mentality of those £75,000 a week players to understand that £250,000 player is going to bring you the success, and you're going to be riding on the coattails of that. Yeah. And that doesn't work. It's all well and good in theory, but in human nature is, as Keith rightly points out, hang on, if he's getting that, I want that. And this is where the solid managerial approach behind the scenes comes to play. So when you end up with a player, for example, let's use an example. Let's say we did buy a £250,000 player, and we've got a £75,000 a week player who goes to them and says, "I want 150." You've got to stand there with the cojones to say, "No, you're not good enough. Come back in 2 years' time when we've won something and you've had something to do with the success. Then we might consider it. But in the meantime, you stick with what you've got or you leave, because we can very, very quickly replace you." That's the sort of mindset that will come into play. That's the hard-nosed business approach. And managers don't normally do it, but owners will do it. There's no question about that. What's he written on there?
Penman,
What's he like? But that's what's going to happen. I see that. And I think that when you listen to Kevin Keegan, who thinks that having spoken to the owners and having spoken to the people running the football club and having, according to Chronicle, had time sitting down with Eddie Howe as well, which is very, very interesting. I mean, Kevin doesn't want to get involved in the football club. I think in the Chronicle tonight, he said he's quite happy spending time with his grandkids. And yet we've all shouted and bawled at the start when the takeover happened that we want Keegan as some sort of ambassadorial role. Kevin probably just wants to come sometimes and be a guest and enjoy the football at St James's Park. And hey, that's what we all want. But when he says that it can be done, then I'm a believer. I'm definitely a believer in that sort of mindset. And if everybody else has the same sort of mindset, then there's no reason why it can't be achieved. Football runs in sequence. Look at Man United at the moment. Look at where City are. That'll not always be there. Look at where Liverpool are. They've taken a progression and a climb. The squad he's got, he's going to have to rebuild that squad at Liverpool eventually. The players are getting older. Salah is not the same player as he was last season and won't be the same player next season. Contracts coming to an end. Henderson, who's been running that midfield for them at the back end of the season, again, he's not going to be there. So changes are going to happen there. You've seen this is where Newcastle United have the advantage, because we can nip in and we can get some players who perhaps would have been on the Manchester United or the Liverpool or the Man City plane, but they are looking beyond because they all go to Europe and they spend ridiculously. We can come in slightly lower down, but we can get players with that keyword ambition who want to be part of something. Because if you're part of Newcastle United going up, that's the ambition that drives a team forward. Be part of a team that is ambitious, not part of a team that is full of greedy people who are there and will twist and turn and complain because somebody else is getting a better car or they're getting an extra couple of days off here and there to fly to France or whatever it might be. We don't want any of that. We want solid professionals, but professionals who have got that winning mentality as well. And we want Eddie Howe to be able to build that within. And we want the squad. And with Bruno, we've got that type of player. And hopefully that mentality rubs off, because other people go, you know what, I can play football just as good as Bruno. And I want that adulation as much as anything else. Because adulation doesn't cost anything. Adulation's earned. And that's what we'll do. That's where our mind's going to be as fans. We're going to have that adulation for players because we're seeing them put the work in, not because they're getting paid £250,000 a week and playing crap.
Yeah. Mitch, unrealistic to think we could have a trophy in the cabinet which has got cobwebs and spiders in at the minute?
The dichotomy we've got at the minute is, do you want to get big quick, and how do you manage that change? And that's the difficulty, that the balance that they've got in the boardroom and with the manager and his team. And how you manage the squad as the squad evolves and people come in. It's why I think this transfer window there won't be necessarily a fixed budget. I think it'll be flexible. I think it'll be fluid. I think it'll evolve. And decisions made about certain players will may influence the decisions made later on in the window. I think they'll have a list of positions that they want to strengthen. Say, for example, right, we want a creative centre midfielder. Right, who's in the list? Paqueta, Christian Eriksen, James Ward-Prowse. Right, let's go and seek those guys out. What kind of answers do we get off them? What can we get them in for? And how do they fit in with the wage structure? And then there's one piece of that puzzle drops into place that might then influence the decision on the striker. that we want to bring in, and that might then influence the decision on a centre back that we might want to bring in, and so on and so on and so on. I think they will extend themselves to get the right player at the right time if that's what it takes. But also, I think they want to be sensible from a business-wise, with one mind on that every deal that we are involved in, be it a sponsorship deal or a transfer deal, is going to be absolutely poured over. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, with a bloody nitcomb. They're going to be looking for every tiny little thing they can find to go, aha, gotcha. So we want it all to be watertight and done and sealed and no bother at all. And I think that's why we're going to probably play this window smarter than people realise. I think we're going to take advantage of free transfers and Bosman rulings. I think that's going to happen. Because that again gives more flexibility in terms of how you can then work those wage structures and how you can bring people in on a lower wage, but maybe give them signing bonuses, etc., and things like that, and you do it that way. Then you don't bust the wage structure, and so there's loads of ways you can do it. And I think we're getting a team together who are used to doing this kind of thing. I hear on the grapevine our new director has not been home in 3 months. That's how hard he works, and that's what he does, and he's now doing it for us, and probably has been since January when he first appeared in the club in an unofficial capacity. You know,
we didn't just nip out for a paper and some milk, Mitch.
Yeah, no, can you imagine? Who's going to paper and milk? I'm home.
You're in trouble with his last. Okay, we've got 35 minutes left to go. I've got to nip out. I'm away to the Thomas Wilson Club in Gateshead tonight, doing a talk in with Super Mac. Me and John from QTech are popping down there, so looking forward to that. Okay, we're going to do the monthly draw. The prize tonight is a £50 Amazon card and a Shearer 260 gift set, which is signed by Alan Shearer. So here we go. Who is the lucky winner this week? Seven is the lucky winner, C. Marshall. Well done. Member 117, C. Marshall, you are the winner of a £50 Amazon gift set and the Shearer, a £50 Amazon card and the Shearer gift set. So well done to you. If you want to be in the monthly draw, go to NUFCmatters.com and become a member. Okay, time for a little bit of humour. Okay, time for Elliot's joke, and he's just had an argument with the manager of McDonald's. The bloke's a total clown. Wow. That's it. Just shake your heads. Nobody liked that one, Elliot. But there we go. You win some, you lose some. I thought it was quite amusing anyway. I do want to give this a little bit of a plug. As you know, I had the displeasure of having to organise my mother's funeral and give her a good send-off on Tuesday. Most of you will also know that my mum contributed to The Craze, The Gangsters Behind Bars, a documentary which I was the centre of, but also a producer on. We're going to do a charity screening at the Tyneside Irish Centre on Saturday, the 11th of June. It's going to be a slightly different screening because we're going to show my mum's interview in full, which is around about 26 minutes, and then we're going to show the documentary again. We're charging £5 a ticket for people to come and see this, and basically all money raised is going to be donated to St Bede's Palliative Care Unit up at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. John from QTech kicked it off. He's already bought 20 tickets, so donated £100. Would like people to come. It's a great documentary. It's still in the UK DVD and documentary charts. Got the number 29 in the very first week, which was fantastic. But it's well worth coming along to. It's 12 o'clock till 4. The screening will start about 12:30. The documentary itself is about an hour and a half long. So let's say, 12:30 till probably around about 3 o'clock if you just want to come along and watch the documentary and, pay your £5. But NUFCmatters.com, the tickets are on sale on there. As I say, it's a £5 ticket. So please get along, and we want to raise as much as we can. Be nice to be able to hand over, a nice chunk to them if we can. And it'll be a good afternoon, good chance to catch up with everybody. And come along and see the documentary. It's well worth seeing. A lot of people asking when Mick Lowes is back. Mick's back tomorrow, 10:30 in the morning. Sunday, I'm away to Burnley, so I won't be able to do any live content. So I've done a podcast with Frank Bruno. So get yourself on to that pre-recorded interview, which will go out on Sunday. And then the lads from the Fans Forum will be back on Monday night. So still plenty of stuff to catch up on this channel over the weekend. But yeah, great stuff. We've still got the game to look ahead to as well. But buckle up now for one of your favourite sections of the week. And by God, again, there is some rather interesting lookalikes for you to get your teeth into. Are you ready, Steve Hasty?
Ready.
Steve's now left the building. Okay, Tom Dixon, thank you. Tunkai Stanley and Mazma Masood Ahmed, from EastEnders. Very good, that. Very good, Tom. Like that one. This one, Neil Warnock and Mrs. Doubtfire. Very, very good. This one from Tom Dixon as well. God, yeah, that is very good. Yeah, is that doll from Are You Being Served or something? Excellent. But yeah, very good. Wiley, Jason Love, and Joe Linton. I'm not sure who that guy is. He's some kind of reality star or a singer or something. But yeah, very similar. Just needs to bleach his hair on top. This one again from Tom, Simon Jordan, and Jack Duckworth.
The bottom one.
And Ronnie Crane and Joe Walker. Team Tipster. This one, Steve Bruce watching Sheffield United.
Oh, class.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Stu Penman got it in the neck last week. This week, Sam Chipperfield says, what kind of makeover Stu Penman had here? Excellent. And next up, this one, Steve Bruce says Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, I suppose that.
It's another good one. Like it does look like, and I'm not sure whether the guy knew the photograph was being taken. I wonder if that's the same person who took the photos of Bruno. This one, I can't remember whether I highlighted it a while back, but the team photos that were being done weeks ago. Somebody says, why was the Geordie dentist in the dressing room? And there you are, Mitch, in the back. Who is this man?
Brilliant.
It is not the Geordie dentist, I hasten to add. Okay, this week's submission from Albert. Love to add in a new section. This is called the Hasty Lookalike.
Right.
So, without further ado, let's get our teeth into this
one.
one.
What goes through Albert.
I don't know. That doesn't mean it's 10. This is great, Steve.
You reckon?
I think that's you in a full moon. We've got this one, and a rather looking rather somber, wistful. I think wistful is the word.
Portrait, that.
This one. Thanks, Albert. That was certainly original. I know you sent us another one, Albert. I'm going to keep that one for next week, mate. Back to other people, though, to give Steve a reprisal. This is from Elaine Morley, Dubravka, and is that Blinders? Yeah, brilliant. Did like that one. And this one, James Douglas says, no disrespect intended, but this dog is a ringer for Steve Cooper.
Poor dog.
Poor dog.
I feel for dogs, me now.
I bet you do. This one was from last night. Ian Russell, thanks. He says, two lookalike. He's Super Mac and Will Young.
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've got to be honest. Can anybody see that?
Hair, no beard.
I don't know whether is it the face that Mal's pulling there. Do you think it's the face, and that's why there's a comparison?
Just the eyes and the nose. I think that's about it.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know what happened with Malcolm last night, but he's obviously internet either packed up or something last night, and we had he had like a complete phase out. So I'm not sure what happened to him. But Malcolm, I'm not.
He's walking into Will Young.
Maybe I'm not sure what that one's about. But anyway, we'll leave it there. This one was from Ugly Camel. He went on a bit of some late submissions today. Lewis Hamilton. Which was quite good. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I've got no idea who it is. Some dancer in a club. And then, okay, Albert, I will show them. Ali, thanks, Albert. Keith's chuckle muscle section. I'm really not sure what this is. Is that Moses? He doesn't even ask us who it is. Some mad professor. This one.
I can see that one.
Louis Boswell. I don't even know what we're supposed to be looking at. It's not even looking like it's superimposing your head.
It's superimposed, that.
Anyway, thanks, Albert. I think the winner of the lookalike, which is like an old-fashioned lookalike, it's a lookalike. It's this one from Ugly Camel, George Harrison and Peter Beardsley.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
Excellent. I did like it. Thank you very much. Keep them coming in, especially the Steve Hasty.
Albert and Frank, that's the last one is what it's supposed to be like, lads. Lookalike, not make up something that might look like something in my own head.
Exactly. Now, I do want to touch. You wanted to and it's this young lad, John Joe. You've been looking after him at the games, mate. John Joe.
Yeah, God.
He did.
Thanks a million for allowing us to put this forward. Just want a couple of minutes of everybody's time. You probably know that for 14 months I did a lot of work without wages and never ever expected anything, but now I want to ask you for something. It's the first time I ever asked for something. But I want to see if all the people at NUFC Matters and all the people on Twitter can help me get something for John Joe, which is dear to his heart. Next week I'm meeting him at my house with his mum, and his mum's called Amanda. And on Tuesday night, John Joe said he wanted me to go to the game with him. So I went to 1 level 7 with John Joe, and I had the best night ever. Honestly, it was outstanding. He's just I was in Shearer's Bar with him for the Liverpool game. We had him in Strawberry on Tuesday night, and his sense of humour. Monday night. His sense of humour is just outstanding, and a lot of people will know John Joe's had a good career and he's had some really good jobs. And then when COVID hit in, people's lost their jobs. A lot of you know that. And John Joe's out of work at the moment. And the reason I'm going to meet him next week is because I'm going to look at his CV and I'm going to represent it and put it back so we get John Joe in the window. And what I want to do is look at the work he's done. He's been working at the Sage in Gateshead and places like that. And he lived for his work. His work was a big part of him. It was his identity. And since his work's gone, he's lost some of his confidence, and he's frustrated because he loved going to work. And I think a lot of people watching this tonight will realise that it's a normal thing to want to go to work. It's also normal to want to do something that, taxes you and tests you, and that's what he wants. So some of the work he's done hinges on a lot of organisational skills, and he's been commended through his work for doing organisational thing and doing a lot of what I'd call a lot of people do simple tasks. When you talk to John Joe and you ask you a question, you answer the question, he's already getting his next question for you. So he's got a rapid speed of thought. And last week we were upstairs and he just said, he said to me, "Where you going next?" And I said, "Strawberry." And he says, "Who with?" I says, "I'm going to see the lads." He says, "Joe Walker?" I said, "I like Joe." And then he says, "Steve Hasty." I said, so then he said he wanted to come. About 10 minutes before the game finished, when we went to 2-0, we were jumping around. He sang every song. And then he turned around to me and he looked at us, he goes, "You did this." And I just looked at him and I thought, "You wind me up." and I looked at him, he says, "It's because of you, this, Keith." And I just looked and I looked away and I had like a tear running down my face. And I thought no more. I thought, well, you want to say that. We got down the lift outside and his mum got all the wheelchair. Look, his mum goes, "It's been crying." He just said it straight away. But he didn't tell me it was him who made us do that. But when I spoke to him at the Liverpool game and on Monday night, we talked about his desire to go back to work. And the unfortunate thing is he doesn't have social media like we've got it. So I have 18,000 followers. Steve has 42,000 members of this. If you put all that together, we've got a hell of a group of people. And what I want to do is I want to meet them next week, build them a stronger CV. And I want to reach out to all you people, if there's 550, 600 people coming on here tonight, I want you to come back to you in a week's time and tell you what it is John Joe's looking to do, what work he's been doing and where he specialises, so we can get him back to work. Because he's losing his confidence and he's frustrated, he's chewing. And if you think his mum will normally take him to work and then she'll have that free time to get ready for coming back. And it's time for her to go and do what women do, go and get a makeup, go and have a rest. What she's doing, she's sitting now with John Doe, where he's just wanting to be working all the time. And it's for likes of me and you, we just get ourselves down some job centre or get ourselves some recruitment campaign. But John Joe doesn't have the followers, he doesn't have the reach out, so he can't market himself to other people. So what I want to do is I want to put it out there, find out more detail about him, and then put it out on Twitter and put it out on this show and see if we can get him back to work. And what we're looking for,
Keith.
Sorry.
My dad's just fired us a message on WhatsApp. He says, get John Joe's details over to him and he'll help how he can.
Right, that's great, because that's the kind of thing I want. What I want to do now is I want people. There'll be a company out there that will gain from having John Joe working for them, and they'll benefit from it. But it's just a great move for him. And whilst I'll be happy to give good publicity to somebody that help us do it, it's mainly to get the lad back working. So it starts next week. I don't like losing, as you know, and I don't like giving up. And I'm just going to tax every sort of list of people I've got. But I want the 18,000 followers I've got to retweet what I put out. And I want all the people in the Seven Matters to think, is there not a business out there that has an opportunity for him? And I'll come back to you next week and tell you exactly what skill set that we're talking about. If we can get him back to work, to me, it'd be like get the takeover again. It'll be unbelievable. But thanks for letting us put the message out. I'm just trying to pre-warn you that next week, back end of next week, we'll start putting it out on Twitter. And I want the help of there'll be one person listening to this tonight, or there'll be one person on Twitter that says, "Johnny, is our company have an ability to do that. We've got the facility. It's got the access we need, etc., etc." It'll make me extremely happy. So I've never asked for anything before, but I'm asking now. Please help a friend, because he's such a brilliant lad. And you probably all saw him this week getting photographs with Jamie Rubin and Maydad when they were kind enough to go over and spend time with him. And he's there every week on the food bank with Steve Hasty and Colin Whittle collecting. He's a special lad. He's got a brilliant sense of humour, and apparently an impressive CV. So can we just be ready for that next week and just help me? And all I want to do out of this is just give something back to him and get him working again.
Great stuff. Plenty of messages coming in, and plenty of people said they've inboxed you and what have you. Obviously, George has submitted something via Mitch as well. So, yeah, please do. Well done, Keith. And I know you're not doing it for any praise, but fantastic of you to do that. Okay, let's look ahead to the game, which is on Sunday. Newcastle's final game of the season against Burnley away. Burnley need something out of the game, so that is certainly going to make it a little bit interesting. It's between Burnley and Leeds for the final relegation spot. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff time. There's no live UK TV broadcast. All 2,350 tickets in the away end have been sold. Joe Willock and John Joe Shelby will miss out due to injury. Ryan Fraser is doubtful. Chris Wood and Fabian Scher trained on Thursday. There was no sign of Javier Manquillo, though. So be interesting to see who gets a run out. I'd love to see Matt Ritchie get a run out. I think it could be his last game involved. Referee is Craig Pawson, and on VAR, which is often switched off, is Jared Gillett. We don't have Joe tonight. He had a late meeting, so no Toon Tipster, but we do have Toon Stado.
Hello, amigos. The last game of an exciting season. Newcastle made history, becoming the first team to stay in the Premier League and in the top flight after losing their first 14 games of the season. Away to Burnley, and it can be the fourth year in a row that Newcastle will not lose their final away game of the season if we avoid defeat on Sunday. The previous 3 seasons we won the 2 games against Fulham, and we also drew with Brighton in 2020. Actually, after beating Arsenal on Monday, Newcastle has also won 7 of their last 9 home games of the season, the only 2 defeats coming to Liverpool in 2019 and the current season. When it comes to Burnley away from home, in the 5 games so far in the Premier League, Newcastle has won 2, both of them 2-1, lost 2, both of them 1-0, and there's also 1-1 draw between the 2 teams. A lot at stake for Burnley. Their remaining in the Premier League depends on the game on Sunday. While for Newcastle, Callum Wilson has the chance to add to his 6 goals for the season. Otherwise, he would become the top goal scorer for Newcastle with the least goals in the entire history, with only 6 in all competitions. And he's also matching 6 in the Premier League, which was done by John Barnes in 97-98 and John Joe Shelby in 19-20 seasons. What else? Arsenal scored an own goal against Newcastle, which was the 3rd own goal for Newcastle during the current season, the highest since 2011-2012, when Newcastle had 5 own goals in their favour. Only Tottenham this season has more own goals for them, 6 in all Premier League games. So let's see what happens on Sunday, and no matter what, it has been a fantastic season, and we all know that as of next season things will be drastically different. Away the lads.
Thank you to Andre for his submissions this year. It's been fantastic. Great guy. And look at the Ben now. Dear me, Bonnie Geordie Ben. Definitely going to play for Newcastle. That's another Dan Burn in the making there. So keep feeding them and keep growing them. He could end up signing a contract. Okay, Keith, how do you see this game going, man?
That's why I worry, because it's one of them grounds where you go to, and the supporters, they're not prawn sandwich brigade in the sense that they're quite vociferous. They'll get behind the team, and I think it'll be tinder. Honestly, I think it'll be red hot in that ground. On 2,500, 3,000 fans going down there. Oh Christ! You'll know you're at a game, and I think they'll shout the ground down. But I think they'll get beat. I think Newcastle will win. I think we'll win it 2-1. And that's been kind to Burnley. I just think it'll be a blood and thunder game. But I think Newcastle, we've come a long way. Early in the season, we were praying by the side that played like Burnley, and we were jealous of when we watched Burnley that more often than we have. But the times has changed. Newcastle showed against Arsenal that I think we're playing above ourselves at the moment. But I think it's going to keep going. I think it's going to keep going at the weekend. I think Wilson will score at the weekend. I think he was like a man possessed the other night. He had so much, as though he was trying to prove something, but we knew it was just a breath of fresh air still. So I think it'll be 2-1. I think Wilson will score. But I think I just feel what happened at 90 minutes. Like if they go down, if Leeds do something, so stay safe and everybody be careful, because it's a funny ground to go to, and I don't want the news next week to be about people running the pitches and look what's happening in Newcastle match. So take care.
Steve, your prediction for the game?
Tell you what a nervous bunch they looked last night on TV. Not the players, but the fans. I've never seen so many nails being bitten down and Sky focusing on it on a game. For Sunday, I think we will win. I think we'll beat them 2-0. I was going to go for Stewie's 3-1, but I'm going to stick with me 2-0 prediction. And I think they'll survive as well. I think that Leeds will get beat off Brentford. I think Brentford will have too much for them. I think both Burnley and Leeds struggling with injuries, especially Leeds, but obviously Burnley lost another player on Thursday night there with a sending off. And I think it's going to be a game too far for them. I think that yes, they'll be up for it, but I think the atmosphere will get to the Burnley players. Because against Villa, they went 1-0 up, and then I thought that it was just all Villa, and I can see the same thing happening with them in terms of being attacked and folding. And I'm going to go, like I say, for a 2-0 win to Newcastle United, but with Burnley also surviving because of defeat by Leeds. And let's just say how stupid Sky TV and BT Sport are, because there's games at the top and there's 2 games at the bottom. There was no reason why they couldn't have put all 4 games on simultaneously, and at least then we would have been seen, and Burnley fans around the country who can't make it into Turf Moor would have been able to see the game, and the Leeds fans and the Brentford fans. So I think they've missed a trick there. I think it's stupid. And now we're all going to be scrambling around trying to find some hooky thing, because we're not all as lucky as you, Steve, with all the points that you've got being able to go at the game, and I bet you're looking forward to it.
I am, mate. I am. Okay, Mitch, your prediction?
See, we don't have that restriction out here, so we'll have our game on next to Leeds game in Goodfellas.
Get the dice out. Get the dice out.
And it isn't to say that we've got nothing to play for. Look at the cash money difference, the prize money difference between, say, 14th and 11th, where we could finish. And knowing our owners, what an interesting incentive to the players to say, win that extra. There's some extra for you lot. And so I don't think we'll be playing without incentivization. And we'll be playing relaxed. There's nothing to fear. Going into the last game of the season, nothing to fear. And they've got everything to fear. I think, like you, Steve, knowing Leeds' history with Brentford, recent history with Brentford, I can't see them picking anything up there. They've gone into total self-destruct mode. And so I think to them, our game ultimately, our result would really be irrelevant. But I do personally think, before I roll the dice, that my personal thoughts is we should be picking up 3 points.
Okay.
And the lucky dice says, Burnley 0, Newcastle 2.
There we go, and it got it spot on last week with the Arsenal game, so we will wait and see. And yes, there is another big game going on this weekend. This could have been in the lookalikes, actually. So Ian, thank you for that. No surrender, never say die. That song's gone viral. Keep an eye out for this guy, and he does look a little bit like Father Teddy, and you are right. But best of luck to the Sunderland fans who have got a photograph of leaving for Wembley. And there they are, setting off for their annual holiday and their annual bath. Good luck to them. Good luck to them this weekend. Fantastic show, as always. And Julie, I certainly wouldn't forget. I've seen the little cat there. Now, I do have to laugh. Keith sent me one, and I'm going to keep it for next week because it got overtaken by madness on Twitter. And the trolls decided to dig out this old tweet from Newcastle United on the 11th of the 9th, 2012, where the club was under Ashley's control. And actually, yes, the club attacked me on Twitter. So, of course, all the trolls then jumped on it this week, trying to make out that it was a recent tweet. So that caused me no end of vibrating in my pocket this week. But just to remember, folks, that was 10 years ago when the club attacked us. Simon Bird actually did a full story on it on the Daily Mirror. I'm not going to say who it was, but let's just say it was a certain chief executive who worked for the club at the time who had his fingers on the official Twitter account. But this week's troll keeps it basic. Thank you, NUFC Eamon. Shut up, Steve, you baldy nonce. Thanks, mate. Take care. That's another one blocked. Okay, I'm back tomorrow morning at 10:30 with Mick Lowe's. What were you saying there, sorry?
Possibly another see you in court one as well.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. Well, anything with bold, mate, I'll just stick them on the pile.
It's illegal.
Exactly, it's legal. I'll have to get Keith involved. As always, lads.
Disappointed though, he missed out Tory.
He did, yeah, that could be next week. Right, lads, take care. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the football and see you next week. Take care.
All the best.
Cheers, everyone.
Yeah, bye.